Jazz, man. When you hear the word jazz, chances are you might be thinking of the blues.
Working all day, my hands dirty in the field.
Or maybe your mind goes to smooth jazz. But where does it all come from? We all know that story about jazz being born in New Orleans, where there were so many different people from so many different backgrounds and no one could speak the same language, so instead they played music to communicate. That is supposedly how jazz was born, but there's so much more to the story. Jazz has gone through so many changes over the past 100 years, and I made it my purpose to learn the story of all of that. This is that story. This is jazz through the ages. I knew that my first and possibly last step on this journey would be paying a visit to my local jazz club.
Hi there.
Hello.
Fancy drink?
Water, please.
Hi there,
Hi.
son. Let me tell you something. I sit in this club day in, day out, and I can always spot a new timer. What's more, I can tell you why they're here. And son, you look to me like a man on a quest.
I am, as a matter of fact. I'm looking to learn about jazz and its history.
Well, you came to the right place. I can tell you all you need to know for the price.
What's that price?
A drink, and maybe a few more after that. Well, son, it all starts with a syncopation, the rhythms brought over from Africa. And those are what you see popping up in ragtime music, like the music we have the pleasure of listening to right now. From there, we see the ragtime music being translated from piano to the small groups of horn musicians that you see popping up in the New Orleans street craze in the 1920s. Louis Armstrong, Jelly Roll Morton, these are some of the famous jazz names of the time. And this next piece, you're gonna love it. Just check it out.
Somewhere there's music, how faint the tune. Somewhere there's heaven, how high the moon. There is no love when love is far away too, till it comes true that you love me as I love you. Somewhere there's heaven, it's where you are. Somewhere there's music, how near, how far. The darkest night would shine if you would come to me too. Until you will outstill my heart, how high the moon. Darkest night would shine if you would come to me soon. Until you will outstill my heart. Until you will outstill my heart. How high the moon. How high the
That was just great, wasn't it? Swing bands. That was where it was at. I don't know why things ever had to change.
I'll tell you what things had to change. Musicians just weren't getting to be musicians. The name's Teddy, by the way. You see, the musicians of the swing bands were fed up playing the same arrangements day in and day out. When they got creative, they wanted to stay that way, not be shut back down. These cats would go to their gigs at night, and then play in big bands, make some dough, and then later at night, they were jamming at the clubs.
So what made bebop so special?
Oh, these cats were just unbelievable. They knew how to blow, how to shed, they understood what it takes. They played hard, they played fast. I mean, between the 1940s and the early 50s, you had cats like Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk, Bud Powell, Dexter Gordon. These cats were at the scene, and they were the ones who made it. They really influenced jazz in a way that we can never imagine. Now, get ready for this next set. I think you'll enjoy it.
that moment, I was thinking just how incredible those tunes were. And it wasn't even so much the tunes as the way they were played. That was the important part. The musicians made the music.
See, just out of this world. By far the best era of jazz. And, at the very least, the most influential.
I'd actually argue that hard bop had a greater influence in the later world of jazz.
Okay, so we can say bop in general.
Sure.
What's hard bop?
Oh, son, hard bop is when the virtuosity of bebop was toned down a peg to make room for more fun musicians. I don't want to say too much to them, because I got someone on the phone that can say it just a little bit better.
1959 was an incredible year for jazz. 4 landmark recordings were released that year, representing 4 distinctive styles of jazz performed by some of the greatest jazz musicians in history. John Coltrane's Giant Steps represented hard bop, the epitome of hard bop, with its complex chord progressions, fast-changing chords, and blistering tempos. Kind of Blue by Miles Davis was kind of like the opposite of Giant Steps. It had a much cooler and calmer vibe, with very slow-moving chord progressions, some chords lasting 16 bars. And then you had the great Dave Brubeck's Time Out. Here you had cool jazz, fusing jazz with European classical music. And finally, free jazz, represented by Ornette Coleman's album The Shape of Jazz to Come. Here you had no structure, just playing off the top of their heads without predetermined chord progressions, just completely free. 1959, one of jazz's greatest years.
Whew. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, let's take a look at what he was talking about. Gorgeous, wasn't it? You know, I mean, obviously some of that wasn't hard bop, like obviously So What wasn't, but that blue stuff was just classic hard bop, so killer.
Now that we are past the 50s, we can get to the good stuff. The bossa nova craze.
Oof.
What's the bossa nova craze?
Bossa Nova was the best sound of jazz. It came from Brazil and was popularized by a movie called Black Orpheus. The music of the movie was created by Antonio Carlos Jobim, my wonderful love. Thanks to him, Bossa Nova reached American jazz musicians and they adapted it into their style of playing. And Latin rhythms are now, will forever be a part of the American jazz art form.
How long did the craze last for?
Couldn't have been more than a few years. It was mainly in the 1960s, maybe 65, 66. And we had music from Antonio Carlos Jobim, João and Astrid Gilberto, and Stan Getz. Now this next song, I'm sure you'll love it, because I love it as well.
Whatever this bossa nova was, I knew I needed more of it. I started to grow confused, though. How was it jazz was something American, African, and Brazilian all at the same time? And how was it happening in different ways? I already knew about free jazz, which was happening around this time, and Miles Davis's second great quintet. I'd read up on that. So how is bossa nova also considered jazz when it was happening at the same time as these other very different styles? Where did those limits end? Well, what came next for me would only confuse me more.
So what comes next?
Hey, what's up, Angelo? This is Tony White. How you doing? Hope everything is well. I want to commend you on taking on this project, Jazz Through the Ages, and it's my honor to be a part of this video. I got started in listening to this music probably in the 70s when I was a young lad, and it was jazz fusion. It was the combination of jazz music or jazz instruments, wind instruments, and rhythm section instruments making this music that just flowed and it was effortless. It was part of the landscape of my life, and that's what made me really get into it. And so, you know, this music is very vibrant, and it still represents of what's happening today, as all of jazz forms do. So anyway, my honor to introduce Watermelon Man and by Herbie Hancock and the Headhunters. Here we go. Watch this clip.
I'm sorry, guys. I just don't get it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm loving everything that we've been listening to, but I don't understand how it can all be considered jazz. Like, it makes sense how one thing came to the next, and I can see the connection between the syncopations of ragtime going on to form the street bands of traditional jazz, and how those musicians got so good that they could form the big bands. And I see why some of the members of the big bands decided to go on to bebop and play more to how they wanted to play. And why then bebop split into hard bop and modal jazz.
Mostly hard bop.
But then bossa nova came around, and funk and fusion, and I don't understand how all of that can be considered jazz. That's too much. That's too much. And when did it end? If that's all considered jazz, what made it die off? What was the final era?
Well, the hard bop faded away. The hard bop was really the end.
See, you guys can't even give me one answer.
That's because there isn't one. Jazz isn't dead, but it is very complicated. To say it's moved in eras even is wrong. It's one way of looking at it, but the beautiful part of jazz is that it's up to interpretation. It's like a jazz tune. Any given musician can and will play a tune a different way, just like all jazz musicians will have a slightly different way of looking at its history. To say you like jazz is too broad a statement, because everyone has their own taste, and it's too broad a category to look all of it equally.
Okay, that sort of makes sense, but I still don't fully understand. If jazz just kept changing and changing, and it all still technically falls under the same category, then what made it die off?
Well, once the fusion elements came in, you lost the musicality of bebop.
No, these folks are looking at it all wrong. And so are you. Jazz didn't die off. Like you said, it just keeps evolving. How could you stop a force like that from pushing on?
So it didn't die?
Nope.
So then why does it seem like such a thing of the past?
Okay, yes, most of the famous names in jazz are influences from the 20th century, but that doesn't mean it's not still around. In fact, I'd argue it's coming back even greater. Look at Tonight Alone. The people, the playing. And yes, jazz covers a large period of history, but none of those periods are done, are they? Groups are still playing all those styles to this day. So no, jazz isn't dead. In fact, it's still growing. The future of jazz lies in today's musicians. Watch this next one. So,
I see it. So that was just written?
yep, there are new cats rolling into the art form every year, making new music, new changes, and forging a new path for the future.
Well, that was fantastic. I really loved it. And I think I'm starting to see how this all connects together under just the term of jazz. So thank you. And you guys for helping me understand this.
Never forget though, it's not just about the music or the history, it's about the people. It's about forging new traditions, it's about keeping the past, present, and future in mind.
With that said,
1, 2, 3, 4!
Go.